This meeting is being recorded.
Perfect. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a Synergy Community Power 30 series. We have a phenomenal guest today coming all the way over from the islands. What's up, Dylan? And how do you pronounce your last name again?
Nonaka, kind of like how it looks.
Yeah. Love it. All right. Well, first of all, Dylan, want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be our guest this morning. Oftentimes we get guests that come here. Very few times do we get guests that come with the celebrated excitement that you brought to the table, mostly because of how you crushed it out of the park on stage up at EXP recently. And so I want to jump right in with just starting with just give us a little brief background on who Dylan is.
So the short story is I was born and raised here on the island, on the west side of the Big Island, and I joined the Marine Corps out of high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do in life, so I thought that would be a good idea. It turned out to be a pretty good idea. I learned a lot in a short amount of time about life and leadership and perspective on life. You know, I always tell people once you've been shot at, you never have a bad day ever again. So if you just put stuff into that perspective, deals falling apart and clients being mean to you are really insignificant. So after that, I came back home. I went to college. My mom had been a broker for years on the island, and she convinced me to get my real estate license when I was in college. And she told me to, and I'm a good boy, so I listened to my mom. And that was kind of how I started my real estate journey. Just helped her kind of part-time. I was going to college on the other side of the island, so when she would have clients that needed to see property there, I would help. And then after I graduated, I kind of decided it wasn't what I wanted to do in life. So I went off and did other things for like 10 years, worked in government and politics, and got burnt out doing that. I had a couple of kids and a wife now, and wasn't sure what I wanted to do in life. And I was taking like a month off after coming home from a long Army Reserve school. And my mom asked me if I'd think about getting back into real estate because she wanted to move towards retirement. I told her probably not. And that same night, my wife told me, hey, you think about doing real estate again? Because I don't really think you need to get a real job. You should have a real job. And I said, you talk to my mom. And so these are like, two most important ladies in my life. And I just decided that probably wasn't a coincidence. So I said, you know what, I'll reactivate it. I'll give it a shot. And, I got nothing better to do right now. So that was kind of how I got started. Now, this was like 2015. So like 8 years ago. So not that long ago.
So I love the fact that the women in your life were kind of smacking you around and you were smart enough to go, hey, maybe they're onto something here. So
yes,
I love that. And, you've had obviously some great success. I'm sure by your standards, you're still building and still climbing, but I want to acknowledge for what you've been able to create. One of the things that you mentioned yesterday when you and I spoke, which I absolutely loved your response, is on your thought on growing an organization. We're going to talk about from an agent perspective of doing production. We're also going to talk from the benefits of being part of EXP is building that downline. And I made the comment, yeah, it's amazing to me of how many people don't realize getting that nice little check out of nowhere, how that can make a difference. And you said, nice little check. You said, this has changed my family's life forever. And I literally, as I was holding the phone, I said, yeah, you're absolutely right. It is like a great investment property that you never have to fix plumbing or deal with late fees or any of those other challenges that we come as investors, that this money just pours in and in and in. So I want to start there. I want to get your thoughts and your perspective on your approach and what you've been able to build thus far.
On that, and the message I'd like to share with that is it's intimidating, right? When you see people at like 5,000 people in their group or 1,000 people in their group, and you think, man, how am I ever going to get there, right? And I'm a very moderately successful, builder in terms of the EXP group size, and I really got like 100 people, and I've recruited frontline like 27 or 28 over 4 years. So I mean, I would be a long fired ago recruiter if I worked for some other company, based on those numbers. But just doing that, I've created an income that is nearly 6 figures every year, passive income. And so from when you're getting started, you don't have to be recruiting 10 people a month. Like if you can get one person every quarter, if you can get 4 people a year over a few years, it ends up becoming life-changing income. And so that's really the way to look at it, is don't be intimidated by it. Don't worry about other people's stories and what other people have done, or where they came from. And I didn't come from a big team. I didn't bring a brokerage over. I really came to EXP by myself with my brother and a couple of friends, and just started doing business the way we always thought we should do business. And that has just built upon itself, and people have self-selected, and people have come, the right people have come, and they've brought more people. And you just got to get started and figure out what your vibe is, and your tribe will come. But if you never get started, you don't put any intention into it, it's never going to grow. So just perspective wise, don't be intimidated by it. Just got to get started.
Yeah, I love that perspective of you'd have been fired as a recruiter had you been doing this for another company, but here you are, you've been doing this, casually, as you said, focused on the vibe, you track the right people, but you've built a 6-figure a year passive income. What were you making in your government jobs? Were you crushing it?
Never 6 figures, that's for sure.
That's what I'm talking about. And that was your full-time career.
Yep.
They didn't pay you that to get shot at in the military, did they?
Oh man, I was making $400 a month back then.
Right. The paper targets that would probably cost about that much that they had to print.
Yeah.
So the point being is that it's a great perspective. So, I get the vibe, I get the bring the right people, but do you have like something that you would recommend to people? I would love to get other perspectives. Like what is it that you do to attract even the 27 people on your front line?
That's a super easy answer. It's pure abundance mindset. Like I am just constantly trying to make people's lives better, trying to give as much as I possibly can. I'll tell you a silly little example of this. So I've been meaning to, I do quite a bit of video content, mainly to attract real estate clients. But I've always thought, I've had a lot of feedback from agents saying like, I get more information about doing real estate in Hawaii from you than I do my broker. And that's one of the ways I've attracted people, is that, if you want to learn about Hawaii real estate market and the specifics of the Hawaii real estate market, it's more client facing content, but then realtors watch that stuff too. And especially when they don't get any education from their broker, they want somebody who is going to share that information with them. But I've always thought I should just send this out to every agent in my market in the MLS, right? Just send a weekly email out with this content, and maybe some other things, book recommendations, other positive thoughts, stuff like that. And I've been thinking about it for years. It's about action, right? I've been thinking about it for forever. And I finally did it last week. I put the newsletter together and I sent the email out, and literally the email drops at 10 a.m. on Saturday. 10:30, I get a call from an agent who I did a deal with like 5 or 6 years ago, but she's been following on social media and stuff. Had an issue with her broker like on Friday. She says, I've been thinking about calling you, and I got your email, it was a sign, and I signed her up yesterday, right? I mean, so it's like one of those things where until you put it out there and it's purely just a message of positivity and sharing information and trying to add value to other people's lives, the right people will come. That's a big thing, right? Is you don't want like selfish, self-absorbed. We don't need those people around us that are just going to be a drag on us and bring us down and have that scarcity mindset. So that's pretty much it. I mean, I just try and let everybody know, no matter what, no matter how many meetings I have, I always end my meetings with agents who are interested with, if this makes sense to you, I'd love to have you a part of it. If it doesn't, we're still going to be friends. Like, I'm not going to follow up with you. I'm not going to badger you. I'm not going to, and I'll still be here to help you with whatever you need when the time comes. And sometimes it takes years before they come, right? You have that initial conversation, and then it may be a year or two later, but as long as you're continuing to love on them and share and be positive, I mean, sooner or later, they're going to show up.
So ultimately, what I hear you saying is you're being you, right? But you got that mindset of you're going to attract the right people to be around you. And then you put it out there, and I love the fact that you're not going to beat on them. At the end of the day, if it works, it's a good alignment. It's a good alignment. I have the same approach with clients. Like, if I'm working with somebody and now's not the right time, I'm cool. Like, but they always feel like, oh my gosh, I'm afraid to tell you no, please tell me no. So we can, fast no is okay, right?
I always try and approach it like you're going to get way more value from me than I'm going to get out of you, right? And if that's always my mindset, that you're going to, if you align with me, you're going to be way better off than I'm going to be, because I think that's a problem. A lot of times people, they're recruiting because they want the personal benefit, right? I want to benefit off of you because if I sponsor you, I'm going to make money off of you, and that's just the wrong way. If that's your intent, that vibe's going to come off, right? And people are going to feel that, and that feels like you're being sold and you're being recruited, and people have an aversion to that.
It's that commission breath feeling, right? Where somebody's really desperate and anxious and they're like, I got to get a deal. I got to get a recruit,
Yeah.
right? Nothing more repelling than that. So
Yeah.
I love it. Is there anything else you want to touch on the, attracting agents side, anything there before we transition into the other?
Well, the big one is providing value. I mean, my whole, and this is, I mean, because a good transition is people look at the sales team we have now and the amazing stuff that we're doing on the sales side of it. But I only built that because I wanted to support the agents that I was attracting, right? So I felt like if I'm going to bring my brother into this company, I'm going to bring some of my close friends into this company, and they're putting faith in me to follow me here. I'm going to make sure that they're going to be successful, that they're going to be supported, they're going to have resources. And that was the origin of the team. Was it really was just a group of us that came. It was just my revenue share group. We didn't have an organized team or anything like that. And that has evolved in small steps. And people look now, again, they get intimidated by, wow, this is crazy, you do 500 transactions a year and stuff. But that didn't start that way, right? I mean, it started with 40, with 3 or 4 people originally, and it slowly built upon itself. But it was all about providing value and making sure that if I was going to bring people into the company, and even if they're 3 or 4 or 5 levels down, they have the opportunity to tap into our systems and our resources. And it was my goal early on, because I live in a small market, that I wanted to have the most productive revenue share group out of anybody, right? Not the largest, but the most productive. Because there's a lot of people who make like, $500 or $600 an agent out of their revenue share group, because half of them don't sell anything. And that's not a good thing, right? I want every single FLA that I have to be qualified, right? Not 50% of them, right? And so that's just a mindset thing. And your group doesn't matter. I've seen people with groups that are 3 or 4 times the size of my group that don't provide, like, are only providing like 60% the income, right? Because they're, for whatever reason, those people are not as productive. So that's what's transitioned is if you're going to build, it's just a mindset thing. If you're going to recruit and you're going to bring people to the company, you might as well have them be successful and be capping agents, because you're going to get the maximum benefit, right? I'd rather have 1 capping agent than 3 that don't do anything, or that, are half cappers or whatever. So.
Love it. And that energy, I can feel that off of you. And that's a lot of what our synergy community here that was born in Las Vegas and now obviously reaches outside of our market to multiple markets. But it's really that concept of, many hands make light work, and it's much more fun winning together than winning alone.
Absolutely.
I love that. All right. Now I know from your background that you're really good in systems, right? That's kind of like systems and structure and things of that nature. So talk to me about some of the things that you've incorporated. You've mentioned the marketing side of putting a lot of content out there. What do you want to talk about on that?
So the principle behind it is just pure laziness. Like, I am not a hardworking person. Like, I want to work the least amount possible and get the maximum amount of return. So I think agents, a lot of times, like, they think if they're busy, they're being productive, but they're not, right? So from the very beginning, I wanted to figure out how I could write a contract as fast as I possibly could, how I could answer questions from clients as fast as I possibly could, and have a repeatable system. And so, like, the video marketing is a big one. I always harp on this, is you get more ROI out of shooting a 5-minute video that has quality content in it than really anything else you could possibly do, right? I still have videos from 2 or 3 years ago that are in the top 10 on the watch list on YouTube. And I put that time and effort in 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm still getting 100 views a month off of it. And these are 100 people that I could potentially do business with. So it's not like I'm getting thousands and millions of views. That's not really the goal. The goal is to have that connection with a quality person who is looking for what you're providing them. So that's one piece of it, is like the video piece. But then we just have tons of resources, checklists, reference documents, templates, stuff that a new agent can come in. And I've had, like, one of my proudest achievements is, like, last year we had 7 agents within their first 12 months do more than 10 transactions, right? So, like, that's what I want to do, is I want to bring an agent in and very quickly get them productive, because I'd much rather have a new agent with the right vibe and the right mindset than some top producer who's just going to be a drag and be a pain in my butt. So we don't shy away from recruiting new people. And it's I know some of our best, amazing people. I just had a girl that's got 5 closings. She's like in her 18th month or something like that. She's got 5 closings this month. Crushed it her first year, did 16 transactions, and is just continuing to build on that. But she just bought into the system, right? Like, she was like, comes to every training, comes to every meeting, uses all the resources, learns where all the resources are. Number one resource in life is being resourceful, right? And all the information that we need to be successful is there. And if we can kind of put it in one place and consolidate it and package it for somebody, that's the goal. And the goal was always for me, like, I want to be able to provide the customer experience that I expect my customers to get, but me not have to provide it personally. And that's a big mindset shift for agents too, is that they think that they're the only ones that can provide the service that they can provide, right? And I hate to break it to you, but you're not that special. Like there's lots of people that can probably do it better than you, but that's a limiting factor, right? Is like you can only personally do. I mean, in our market, with the way the transaction goes, I mean, really high level people are doing only 30 transactions a year, right? You don't have the time capacity to really do more than that. I mean, most people are doing like 15 or less. So if you want to scale and do more transactions than that, you got to have help. You got to have systems in place. You got to have a team. And the only way to do that is to create very clear expectations and processes that will provide that consistent customer experience that you expect your customers to get, and somebody else can provide it.
You know, I love that. First of all, the honesty you started on the, laziness. I always say you want to find an efficient way to get something done, give it to a lazy person, right? Because they're not going to take the long, hard route. But you also talk about building something that's duplicatable. And I think regardless of what we're talking about, it is absolutely a lifeblood to be able to sustain you if you can reproduce those tasks over and over and over again with minimal effort, right? Mm-hmm. If you're going to take the time to do something once, why not set it up so it can do that over and over and over again? So
one of the most simple examples of this is when I got started back full time in 2015. I was somewhat clueless. I mean, I hadn't done it in 10 years, and I was like, man, if I got to write a contract, what the hell do I put on it? And I had my mom and my stepdad in the office, but I didn't want to rely upon them. So I just told them, give me your last 20 closings, right? So they had still manila folders of files. And I went through the last 20 contracts, and I started a Google Doc, and I wrote paragraph by paragraph. And I looked in paragraph A, what goes in paragraph A, and hey, it's the same on all 20 contracts. So I know that can be same on every single contract going forward, and I looked for variations, and I built this contract language document out. And we still use it to this day, and we modify it over time if things change and recommended terms change. But it's something that a new agent can come in and write a contract, and they can just look at cut and paste legal descriptions. They know exactly how many days to ask for the seller's disclosure, how many days to ask for title review, all of this stuff. And so there's no guesswork, where it made my job as a broker easier because I'm not having to sit down individually with every single agent and spend 2 hours going through how to write a contract. I'm like, hey, here's a video, here's a document. Let's talk for 10 minutes after you're done about your questions and what you're not sure about. And I have agents that write completely clean, well-presented contracts, which make you more competitive in a competitive marketplace. 100%. And they can have zero experience.
100%. And, one of the things that we built in the Synergy community is, and Cody's about to roll this out, is we revitalized something we called our T card, and it's a training process and a series of videos for everything you want to do. And much like you, like my listing contracts, my purchase agreements, like literally, I got someone who wants to buy a property. I talked to Lori, who's my operations manager, and I only tell her like 3 or 4 things. Based on those 3 or 4 things that I say to her on the phone when I'm driving to my next meeting, she's got the offer written, it's sent to the client, it's signed, it happens. And so you definitely become more efficient and more effective. So kudos to you. I love your approach on that. So you've got agents that are around you. You're attracting by your vibe. You're putting out a lot of content. Is there anything on the content that you're doing, whether it be to attract people to buy and sell or just to attract agents, anything there that you're really trying to put forward in terms of kind of like your quote unquote brand or your special sauce?
I don't shy away from giving my opinion on stuff, right? Okay. And that's something that I think people want, right? If they want just objective information, they can just Google it or ask ChatGPT, right? I mean, you don't have to build a relationship with somebody, or you don't build a trust relationship with somebody unless you're looking. And again, that's another thing. If you don't like my opinion and my vibe and the way I look and the way I do stuff, then you won't do business with me, and I'm totally fine with that, right? But I want the loyal followers who are definitely, are attracted to what I'm putting out there. And so, it's like, what are 3 ways to make your offer better in this market? What are 3 things sellers need to consider before selling this market? I mean, stuff like that, and have actually interesting stuff, not just stuff that you can find online. Everybody who's in this business is having very unique experiences every day, and that really is what drives the content. I recently helped an agent through a difficult situation where the buyer who wanted to make an offer contingent on a sale of a property. I did a video about it, right? And gave 5 things you got to consider if you're going to make that offer and make it contingent on sale of another property. Here's ways to make your offer stronger and make it more presentable. So stuff like that, where I just try and take timely I mean, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. It's just I have a note on my phone, and whenever something weird comes up, and I'm like, that's something we could do a video on, and I write it down, and then once a month I shoot 4 or 5 videos, send it to the editor, and then I got something every week to put out. So that's on the real estate content side. Basically, I do 2 pieces of content a week. It's not a lot. It's on Thursdays I do a real estate related advice, something market related, or 3 tips on something. And then on Tuesdays I do like a mindset thing, and this is more agent related, but just really more to build a personal relationship with people who are not interested in real estate right now. So I just talk about business, about mindset, about a book I recently read that took a great takeaway from, something like that, like it's only like a minute long, and it's perfect for social media content, perfect for YouTube. But that I've gotten a really great feedback, just community building from people who, are not looking to buy or sell real estate, but they're like, man, that really resonated with me because of X, Y, and Z, because they're going through something similar, and you're giving them a piece of advice that they needed, that they didn't know they needed at that time, right? So that's pretty much it. That's my content strategy. It's just
and you're building a relationship. I mean, honestly, first of all, I heard Tuesdays and Thursdays, so clear, right to your system approach, right? You're not going to reinvent the wheel.
I haven't missed it in like 5 years. Like that's one thing, is that consistency is key. I mean, with everything else, people are like, do great videos for a couple of months and then they fall off and don't do it. And to me, that's it. Like I haven't missed a week in like literally five years, because I'm committed to it, right? Once you make a promise, the number one person to keep promises to is yourself. And so if you make a promise to yourself that I'm going to do it, you better do it.
Dude, there's no question as to why you're a success. You keep it simple, you use a system, and you just follow the structure and you execute it, right? I mean, it's rocket science.
Yep. It's
Absolutely
it's really one of my favorites. People, they always respond with too easy. They asked me to do something hard and I said too easy, and they're like, it's not too. I'm like, it is. If you just do it, like just take action and do it. It's too easy, right? It's got to be your mindset. So
it's interesting you say this, because I had a friend of mine and he was like, hey, you've got resistance. He could tell I was resisting doing something, and I just said, it's just too complicated. I'm not interested. It's going to disrupt an easy flowing life that I have going. And so much like you, I want to make it so it's systemized. I don't have to really think. I just point and shoot and off we go. So I love that approach. All right.
I just had this discussion the other day. Like, people love, once you get a certain level of success in real estate, people love to bring you business opportunities, right? Here's this new business opportunity, this new venture I'm into, right? And I always respond with the only reason you're calling me is because of the success we've had, and the success we've had is because I am laser focused on one thing. And maybe I'm passing up good opportunities, but at this point in my life, like, I don't need distractions. I don't need additional things to worry about. I got plenty enough to deal with, with the agents on my team, the things that we're doing here. So yeah, staying focused it's easy to get distracted, right? And let that feed your ego, right? That like, people are like, oh, you're great. You should do this because you'll help me be great in this. And that's an enemy too, right? Ego's your enemy. So
100%.
be careful about that. Yeah.
And people will play on that. And, when you talk about your business in general, and I'm talking about anybody who's listening to this interview, there are things that you're naturally good at, naturally enjoy doing, and be successful at it. It's building that consistency and not getting distracted by what we call the shiny object syndrome, right? Not only outsiders coming in trying to distract you, but within the industry, people are telling, oh, there's a better way. There's an easier way. You can use this widget, that website, this, that, and the other. And nothing is going to go better than building great relationships, obviously, than what you've determined. So
yeah.
I want to open it up real quick to Cody and Steve and Dave and anybody. I see a bunch of people on the call. If anybody has any questions that maybe I haven't pressed, I haven't looked at our chat. I normally do. So yeah, okay. Evergreen content, find your vibe, your tribe will come, consistency, rocket fuel, love it. Does anybody have any specific questions they would like to ask Dylan?
I do. Dylan,
Steve?
One of the things that you started with in Maui was talking about Kina Ole.
Yep.
Can you just address that just in a brief moment that we have?
Yeah.
I really
awesome. Glad were you there or did you watch it?
No, I was there.
Awesome. Yeah, so Kina Ole it's a Hawaiian word, but it's kind of like a concept. Hawaiian language is interesting because there's like literal translations and poetic translations and kind of philosophical translations. But in general, it just means doing the right thing at the right time for the right reasons with the right people. I mean, and just it's an integrity thing, right? I mean, just if your intent, it's an intent thing, is if you're doing the right thing for the right reasons, for the right people at the right time, with the right intentions, life works out. So that's just a kind of a foundational principle that we try and live by, and just run that test right before you take an action. Like, is it the right thing at the right time for the right people for the right reasons? And it's a good way to filter out, you know, what you do and why you're doing it.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Thanks for that question, Steve. Cody, you got anything you'd like to throw in here?
No, not really. I mean, I got a pretty good thing going on here in Las Vegas, but I'm this close to going and joining Dylan's team in Hawaii.
I do admire all of you who live in Las Vegas and survive, because I am a lover of Las Vegas, but like 3 or 4 days is plenty enough, and my life would go downhill quickly beyond that. So I can do Vegas in short stints, but it's bad for my health.
We are the 9th island, right? You know that,
You
right?
are, yes. Yes.
But those of us that live here, we don't go anywhere near that street that you spend your 3 or 4 days on.
That's probably a good idea.
One of the things that I just want to kind of reiterate there, Dylan, that you said it so well, is that sometimes we go to these EXP events and we see these people making millions of dollars in rev share, and it just seems like kind of so different than what any of us could accomplish. But the numbers are so big in real estate that if you just do a small, consistent effort of helping out other agents and inviting them to come see what we're all about, it in the long run will build a 6-figure income from just doing what you should have been doing anyway in your industry. So I really appreciated how you said that. It's absolutely a truth.
Here's one more perspective on that I've been sharing with agents recently that are adverse to talking to other people about it, right? Is they feel like everybody's heard about it and I want to EXP on people. And the mindset shift I've had is I have a moral responsibility to let people know about this life-changing opportunity that's changed my life. If they don't want to do it, that's okay. We can still be friends. But my biggest regret would be if 5 years from now, when I'm retired and I'm living a good life at 45 years old, that they say, why didn't you tell me about this and share this with me, right? I would feel bad about that. So that's the way I kind of view this when I call people and I talk to them, or I just have the conversation when the opportunity arises. Is I just carrying out my Kino Ole, right? I'm doing the right thing at the right time and I'm sharing it. And if it's not the right thing for them, that is totally cool. But I do not want my friends in the business, the people that I like doing business with, to come back to me, 10 years from now and say, why didn't you let me in on this? Why didn't you tell me about this? Because that's the only regret anybody ever has when they join EXP, is they didn't do it sooner, right? I mean, I tell everyone that's the only regret anybody ever has. So just a mindset shift on that.
100%. That's so true. And you put your head on your pillow comfortably knowing that you've shared the opportunity, and some will, some won't. So what?
And the simple formula, right? The simple formula to me to build a consistent revenue share group is if you can have one quality conversation a week. It's just like talking to real estate leads. If you can have one quality conversation a week, it will literally, out of 8, you'll get one, and that'll be one person every other month. That'll be 6 people a year. I mean, and you build that up, and that's going to turn into hundreds of people over 5 or 6 years. So just naturally off the front line that you build. So just have one quality conversation a week. If you can't put that into your calendar and you're too busy, then I don't know what you're doing, because it's definitely worth the time investment.
Love it. Well, Dylan, you're kind enough to take time out of your busy schedule to join us. Our Power 30 time has reached our close. If you have any other parting comments or anything you want to make, I'll turn it over to you. Otherwise, we'll wrap up.
If I can do it, you can do it. That's it.
There it is. Nothing special. It's consistency, right? Come from the right place, do the right thing at the right time for the right reasons, and the right person or the right people will find their way. So
absolutely. Thanks for having me,
Thank
guys.
you, Dylan.
You're the man, Dylan. Look forward to
See you
seeing
guys
you on the island.
Great
All right.
stuff. Thank you very much.
Aloha.
Kaka. Ole.